Hi guys, welcome back to another Living Free From recipe. Today it's all about vegan food, using a couple of different ingredients to build a really nice stock and then make a lovely paella.
I love this, I'm excited about it.
So we need to chop up some veggies.
Okay, great.
I'm gonna slice them thin and sort of long so we can get nice char on all of our veggies. So we're gonna draw as much sweetness as we can out of our veggies.
Can I leave the ends in with the
absolutely.
stock? Okay, great.
We're not wasting anything.
Good. So how did you come up with this, Michael? Because you don't often find miso in a paella, and I'm seeing some kombu, some shiitake mushrooms, which I have in my pantry. I love using them all the time. But in a paella?
Yeah, so for me it's all about umami. So miso, kombu, shiitake are all huge sources of umami. And that gives that really nice, rich, meaty flavour. So
that umami-ness that you get from meat, usually,
caramelising meat.
You can also get from veggies, which I love.
Yeah, and these are just helping it boost. So now we've got our miso, and we're just going to mix that with a little bit of olive oil.
Now, where can we get these ingredients from, Michael? The kombu, shiitake, we've got some miso paste here.
It's funny, there used to be sort of strange ingredients to find, but now they're all available in the International Aisle at Coles in the little Japanese section. You can grab them all.
Love it.
So now the messy bit, you just want to coat all these vegetables in the miso and the olive oil. So just sort of rub it so that all the vegetables are just coated, and that's perfect. Now we're doing 2 trays because we want to put a nice thin layer of our veggies so we get max caramelisation. So the more surface area that's hit by the heat of our oven, the more caramelisation we're going to get, which means more flavour in our stock, which means a tastier paella. All right, so these are going to go into our oven 35, 40 minutes, just so they're really nice and golden brown on the outside, and that little bit of char's forming on the edges.
Fabulous.
All right, Danny, so our stock veggies have roasted. You can see that nice, charry caramelisation on the outside. So now we're going to make the stock. So pot of water, high heat, and we want to scrape down and make sure we get every little bit of veggie, because
all of that flavour.
It's all flavour, yeah.
Now, I'm looking at this thinking, what is this exactly?
Why is he putting seaweed into his paella? It's kombu. And what that's going to do is add so much flavour to your dish.
And we've got these little ones. I am obsessed with dried shiitake mushrooms. I use them all the time in things like stock. They are such a beautiful, intense flavour. They're really affordable and easy to find in the international section. You're just going to pop them straight in?
Pop them straight in.
Love it.
Lid on. This thing's going to do its thing for about half an hour. We're going to come back and then we're going to make paella. Danny, all our veggies for our paella are chopped. Our stock's looking great. So now we're going to start cooking off our sofrito, or the base for our paella. So now I've got a paella pan. If you don't have a paella pan, you can just use a nice wide fry pan. You want lots of flat surface area to get lots of caramelisation on the things you're cooking, and then to help absorb that rice. So hot pan, diced onion, and we're just going to fry that off for about 30 seconds before we start adding our other sofrito ingredients. So sofrito is a classic base for paella, so I use onion, garlic, carrots and a bit of celery.
And the most important thing with a paella is that crust. Have you got a little secret for that?
The sucrat.
The sucrat.
So I do, and it's the easiest secret in the world. And people always ask me, how do you make paella? It's actually easy, because once you put the stock in, you don't touch it. It's the opposite of risotto. So it's actually easier than risotto too.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that's looking good. We're going to go in with carrot. Do you want to bring the celery over? Chuck them in, and then our garlic as well. And then, Danny, do you want to measure out 1 litre of our stock? It'll be really
love
nice
this
and dark.
colour.
Yeah. And if you wanted it lighter, you can roast it for less. If you want it dark, you can go and roast it a little bit more. But for me, that's about the right balance of colour. So our veggies have softened, Danny. We're going to add a little bit more oil just to help cook off our next ingredient, which is our tomato paste. Well, we're getting a bit more Spanish now.
Yeah, we're starting to get a little bit more Spanish.
Back to Spain.
I'm seeing some saffron, a little bit of smoked paprika here.
We're getting a bit more tradition now. Yeah.
Now, you've got some rice here.
Yeah.
1 cup?
1 cup.
All right, and what type of rice are you using?
So we've got some bomba rice here. If you can't find that, Arborio works really well. And the next ingredient we want to add just before we add our rice is our smoked paprika. So just a teaspoon of that. Again, colour, but also that awesome smoky flavour.
Flavour. I love this spice. It's one of my favourite spices.
No, it's my favourite. It's
really?
my number one.
Is it your number one?
Number one. Yeah.
That's a huge call, but
just
I definitely love it.
Yeah. The next important ingredient is our saffron. So the most expensive spice in the world, they say. And now at this stage, we can add our rice, and you can see in the bottom of our pan here, these little charred bits. These are good. Again, that's caramelisation is going to add flavour to our dish. Rice in, but this for me is the last time I'll stir the rice. So you just want to make sure it's sort of nice and flat and even. And then So we've got 4 cups of liquid here, and all we do now, we pour it in, and that's a really good sound. You want that nice sizzle, and you want to cover it, and you shouldn't be able to see really any of the rice. So all we do now is nothing. Step back, let our paella cook. You want a nice, gentle simmer to start with, and it will come up to a bit of a boil. The one move you do every 5 or 6 minutes is just move your pan slightly so that the heat isn't in one spot at the centre, because you then have cooked in the middle and then sort of not so cooked on the outsides. It should take about 15 to 20 minutes, and then I'll show you another trick. When we get down to the rice level, we drop the heat right down just to finish off that crust. All right, Danny, so our paella has cooked down to the stage we can see the rice. So that's my key indicator to add our veggies. We just want to sprinkle them around. We're not going to mix them through too much. And we add our frozen peas at this stage as well.
Always looking to add extra veg into my meal, so I love this, Michael. This is a tick from me.
And all I'm going to do now is just press down our veggies just a tiny bit into our paella. And I've turned the heat down to a low. And all we're going to do now is just finish off that base and get that sukrat we've talked about, the crispy, crunchy rice on the bottom. And this is a really important time where you're just going to move your paella every sort of minute or so and just get that nice heat in one spot of the pan the whole way around. So I reckon 5 minutes of doing that and you're gonna have a pretty tasty paella. All right, Danny, so our paella has cooked down. You can see the rice has plumped up and all those veggies have just softened.
I love it.
That for me is the sign to finish it off. So a little pinch of salt just to season the veggies we put on top. Not a lot. Some parsley, which you've beautifully chopped up for us. Just, again, you don't want to add this when you're cooking too much, so I'm going to put that on and turn the heat off. And then just some lemon juice. Yeah, so we'll just take the centre of the lemon and squeeze it round. And I reckon this is enough paella for 4, so we're going to put 4 bits of lemon in there as well, so everyone can have a taste. And what do you reckon? I'll bring it over here. That's our paella, or paella done.
This looks fantastic, Michael.
Well, Danny, there's only one thing for it. It's a taste test. Let's dig in.
My favourite part. I love it.
So much flavour.
You can actually taste that flavour of the sea. It almost has like a fishy quality from that seaweed. There's so much flavour in there.
I love it.
You've done a fantastic job.
Danny, for this recipe and loads of other inspiration, you've got to make sure you check out the Free From and Allergy Facebook group.